media, the government, the talking heads, everyone is confusing us about what actually took place. And Charlie was fighting for custody of himself. I want to say that. I want to say that plainly. And there are lies that are being told and they need to be slapped down right now.
The crowd at Utah Valley University's academy stood shoulder to shoulder, phones raised like glowing stars in the dark. It was supposed to be another night of inspiration, another speech that stirred faith and patriotism. Charlie Kirk stood at the center of the stage, confident, calm, and commanding. His words filled the air, that steady rhythm that had become his signature. Then, without warning, the world split open. A deafening sound tore through the sky. People screamed. Phones fell. The man who had spent years telling America to stand firm crumpled into his chair as chaos consumed the room. The audience didn't know whether to pray or run. Within seconds, the atmosphere of energy and hope turned into confusion and horror. Thousands were watching live, streaming a tragedy that felt impossible. And in that moment, history stopped being abstract. It became painfully, violently real. In the hours that followed, the country stood still. News networks scrambled for footage, while the internet tried to piece together what had happened. There were theories, and too many of them. Was it an isolated act or something bigger? Some said it was political, others whispered of betrayal. But amid all the noise, one thing was clear. The image of Charlie Kirk falling before the world would haunt millions forever. When Erica Kirk, his widow, appeared before the cameras, she became the symbol of that collective grief. She was composed, almost unreal in her calmness. Her voice was steady, her gestures restrained. It was as though she had trained herself to hold back everything. Her words were chosen carefully, thanking those who helped, promising that her husband's mission would continue. To some, she was grace under pressure. To others, her composure felt too controlled, her calmness too perfect. The internet dissected her expressions frame by frame, reading meaning into every blink and breath. Was it strength or performance? Erica didn't crumble, and maybe that's what unsettled people the most. Charlie was fighting for custody of himself, she said at one vigil, her tone unwavering. And there are lies being told that need to be slapped down. It was a strange phrase, poetic, haunting, and loaded. It sounded less like grief and more like defense, as if she knew that a war of words was already coming. Then, like thunder after lightning, Candace Owens appeared. Before the flowers on the memorial had even wilted, her voice exploded across podcasts, YouTube, and social media. Candace wasn't mourning quietly. She was angry, and her anger had a mission. She said what others were afraid to say out loud, that Charlie Kirk's death didn't add up. That this wasn't a random act of violence, but a betrayal from within. She didn't point fingers directly, but she didn't have to. Her tone did all the work. He was betrayed right next to him, she said, and that one line cracked the internet in half. Candace didn't bring answers. She brought suspicion. Her audience didn't need proof. They needed someone brave enough to say what they were already feeling. Her questions became gospel. How did the shooter get so close? Why wasn't there better security? Why weren't there any clear camera recordings? Every missing detail became proof that someone, somewhere, was hiding the truth. While Erica stood composed, Candace burned with fury. One side of the movement saw grace. The other saw fire. And between them, a line was drawn. For Candace Owens, this wasn't just about losing a friend. It was about revenge, against a system she felt had betrayed her long before Charlie's death. Once a rising star in his organization, she had been pushed aside for being too outspoken, too unpredictable. Now she was back with a vengeance, standing outside the walls of power and throwing flames at the establishment that had once embraced her. She accused investigators of rushing the case, of scrubbing inconvenient details. The more you look, she said, the more it doesn't add up. And the more she spoke, the more the public listened. Soon, the conspiracy had faces, powerful ones. Candace claimed that Charlie had been pressured by people at the highest levels, even naming billionaire Bill Ammon, suggesting he had threatened Charlie over his recent political stance on the Middle East. Ammon denied it immediately, releasing text messages that showed friendly exchanges between the two. But denial only fed the fire. The internet had already made up its mind, and in the digital age, once a story catches flame, it's nearly impossible to extinguish. Even Benjamin Netanyahu had to issue a statement denying involvement after his name was dragged into the storm. The absurdity didn't matter. Belief had already replaced evidence, While Candace turned grief into a revolution, Erica remained the picture of restraint. Her silence was her shield. "He died in front of the world," she told mourners, "and the explanations we've been given don't make sense." But her calmness only fueled more speculation. Some said she was protecting her children. Others said she was protecting herself. Inside the Kirk family, fractures deepened. Relatives whispered that Erica was too perfect, that her statements sounded rehearsed. Others defended her fiercely, saying she was being unfairly attacked. The family's pain became another form of entertainment for a world addicted to outrage. Meanwhile, Turning Point USA, the organization Charlie founded, pressed on. No pauses, no silence. Events were held under banners with his face, his name invoked by politicians, podcasters, and pastors, all claiming to carry his torch. But unity had died with him. What remained was competition. Who could speak the loudest? Who could look the most righteous on camera? The Charlie Kirk Tour of America became both a tribute and a power struggle. Tucker Carlson gave a cryptic eulogy that hinted at powerful people sitting around deciding what to do with the truth teller. It was half memorial, half manifesto, and it set off another wave of speculation. Behind the scenes, Candace's crusade grew even bolder. She accused the FBI of orchestrating a cover-up, claiming they had pressured Utah officials into blaming an easy scapegoat, a young man named Tyler Robinson. She said the timelines didn't match, that witnesses saw someone in tactical gear. Every hole in the story became a thread she could pull. "We know who did this," she declared, "and they're being protected." It was the kind of statement that didn't need proof, only conviction. Erica's silence, once seen as strength, now became ammunition for her critics. Every gesture, every appearance, every sentence was analyzed. If she cried, it was fake. If she didn't, it was cold. There was no way to win. Her life became a stage she never auditioned for. Meanwhile, Candace, fiery and relentless, turned the tragedy into a movement. One part investigation, one part crusade, and one part chaos. And then came the divide no one could ignore. The conservative movement, once united under Charlie Kirk's leadership, now looked like a battlefield. Candace's followers chanted justice for Charlie. Erica's supporters begged for peace. Podcasts, live streams, and online shows became echo chambers of rage and grief. Each claimed to honor Charlie's memory, but each seemed to be using it as a weapon. Even the family couldn't escape the fractures. Some believed Candace's story. Others begged her to stop. What had begun as a tragedy was now an open war of narratives, truth swallowed by noise. The question that once united everyone, "Why did this happen?" has become something darker, whose truth will survive. Erica stands silent, shielding her children from a world that won't stop tearing at her. Candace stands before her microphone, unyielding, her voice shaking with fury. "The most dangerous thing," she says, "is letting this story die." And somewhere in between them lies the ghost of Charlie Kirk, a man now trapped in the endless echo of other people's versions of his life and death. So, what do you believe really happened that night in Utah? Was it betrayal, conspiracy, or simply chaos twisted by the noise of the modern world? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because as the story deepens, the truth might still be waiting in the silence no one wants to hear.